Good morning. Okay, I can't quite see the clock back there. I've been given 10 minutes exactly. So if anyone wants to not give a reflection today, I can go a little long. It's no problem. Okay. Do we have slide? There we go. Okay. So I think most of you have known me for most of my life, but if there's any visitors or anyone new from the last year, my name is Bria, and for the last 15 months, I've been living in Israel, working with the organization Shevet Achim. So our purpose and mission is to bring kids from surrounding areas to Israel for heart surgeries, for congenital heart defects. So these are mostly kids from the Gaza Strip and from Kurdistan in northern Iraq. We also do have quite a few from the West Bank and also a handful of kids from Syrian refugee families in Kurdistan. I just want to thank everyone for your support through prayer and also your financial support. It means a lot to us, and it's a huge help for the kids and their treatment, and it's also through generous donations that we get to eat dinner every night, which I really appreciate. So, so anyway, thank you. And I do want to give you guys a little bit of an idea of kind of what's happening over there and what our life and work looks like. And there's a lot that I could say, but I think that maybe the best way to do it is by letting you guys get to know some of the kids and their stories a little bit. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple here. All right. First up, little guy you see up there behind me is Mizgin. He arrived from Kurdistan last November when he was 6 years old. And by the time he got to Israel, he was definitely no stranger to hospitals. He had one surgery in India and one in Turkey as a baby and as a toddler. And he was in Israel for the third and final surgery that was needed. His heart defect is complicated, and they couldn't actually repair his heart fully. And so he needed a series of 3 surgeries just to kind of allow his body to function with his heart the way it is. He was with us for 5 months. He had some delays in his surgery due to some other dental work that needed done, just extra stuff. And for that 5 months, he was kind of a rarity a little bit. Most kids are really afraid of the hospital and of nurses and doctors. And I don't know how well you can see him up there, but he's getting an ECG there and has a big grin and a thumbs up. And I've never known a child who loved the hospital the way he did. We took him to the emergency room one night with crazy tachycardia, and he was turning blue. And I think it was the best day of his life. He couldn't wait. He was like, "You mean I get to go see the doctors? This is the greatest thing." So he was a lot of fun. Brought a lot of joy, and he was really, he was really special to all of us. He really went out of his way to spend time with all of us volunteers, so we all got to know him pretty well. And Mizgin had probably if I had to give you guys the best case scenario kind of story, that would be Mizgin. After 4 months of waiting, he finally got his heart surgery. It's a really big surgery, really dangerous, a lot of risk for complications and recovery, but he had no complications at all. Everything went exactly according to plan. And within just a couple of weeks after surgery, he was up and running around. He spent 3 or 4 weeks with us after surgery in Jerusalem, and we'd find him every day out on the neighborhood soccer field, running around with all these high school, Orthodox Jewish boys who couldn't figure out where this little 6-year-old came from, but he didn't care. He had fun. This is him after surgery. That's the outfit that he picked out for his big trip to the mosque in Jerusalem. He was pretty excited. And that day was pretty special for him and his mom because he walked a long way that day and didn't turn blue, didn't get tired, and that's a really, really big deal for a kid like him. After several unsuccessful attempts to convince me and my coworkers and his cardiologist to move back to Kurdistan with him, that's our goodbye at the airport. It was a little emotional, but I think, he's really special to all of us just because you can just really clearly see, you see this kid running around playing soccer and like any normal kid, and you never know that a month before he couldn't walk more than 5 minutes without turning blue. And so it's really cool when we get to see kids like that and stories that end so well. We still hear from him sometimes. He calls every now and then to remind us that anytime we want to come to Kurdistan, like he'll give up his sister's room for us and his mom will cook for us. So, yeah, he's generous like that. So Mizgeen is, like I said, kind of the best case scenario. And we are really, really glad to report that a lot of our kids do have outcomes like this. And it's really easy to see in cases like his kind of all the good that's come of this, and that everything that he went through, it was all so worth it for where he is now. But as I'm sure you guys know, it doesn't always work out that way. This little guy is Abed. He arrived from a hospital in the Gaza Strip when he was just a couple of days old. He had a heart defect that normally could be really easily corrected with 1 or 2 surgeries. Normally a baby like him would go home after just a couple of weeks, but he had some complications and some lung damage. And so if you can see in the picture, he got a tracheostomy when he was like a month and a half old. So what normally would have been a couple weeks of time in the hospital turned into 9 months. There were a lot of complications with trying to transfer him out of there and get him back to a hospital in Gaza. Normally when a child from Gaza is with us for that long, actually, the mom will go home to kind of get some rest and another relative will come take her place. But not Abed's mom, that's Lama up there with him. And every day and every night for 9 months, she stayed with him in the ICU room. She watched dozens of other babies come and go while hers just stayed. And it was a really, really challenging 9 months for her, but she also got to see 9 months of really tireless effort by the doctors to care for her baby, even with all of his complications and all of his challenges. Finally, earlier this year, last year, it's 2023 now, he did get to go back to Gaza. He spent some time in a hospital there and then was able to go home. He actually grew and got stronger really well. He came off the ventilator, which was kind of a surprise to all of us. He did come back over the summer. That's where these pictures are from. So the doctors could think about taking his tracheostomy out. He's just on oxygen there, not the vent. And he was really, really close, actually. He was just like he finally came off of all oxygen support. He was doing really well. He celebrated his first birthday in Gaza. Finally got to know his big brothers and his sister and his dad, who really before then had only kind of seen glimpses of him when he was a newborn. And really for a long time, he did really, really well. We got a lot of updates from his mom, and he was growing and finally getting to experience life kind of like a normal child. Until last month, when he developed an infection that probably for a normal child would have been no big deal. But with his heart and lung complications, it was a lot bigger for him. And his doctors near home really did their very best to take care of him. But Abed died in a hospital in the Gaza Strip 2 weeks ago. And if I'm being honest, it's really hard when we see a situation like that. You kind of start wondering, what was the point at the end of it? 9 months, his mom waited with him in the ICU. 9 months he didn't get to see the outside, and everyone worked so hard for him, and it all seems to have maybe come to what really. I talked with his mom a little bit last week, and I think even though this isn't in any way the outcome that we hoped for Abed, his mom knows 100% with all confidence that every effort was made for her baby, that he was really, really deeply loved. He could have been forgotten and left to die in Gaza as a newborn, and he wasn't. And I think, of course, we wish that we would have been able to somehow do more for him, but ultimately we don't get to make those decisions. And I think for his mom to know that every effort was made for him, that matters, even though things didn't turn out the way we would have hoped. And so finally, this is Fayez. He's also from the Gaza Strip. He was born with the number one most difficult to treat of all congenital heart defects. Like Ms. Geen, he needs 3 surgeries, but he's actually even more complicated. So he's had 2 surgeries and more caths than I can count in the 2 years of his life. This photo is from a year ago, and this one's a little more recent. That's from late this summer. But really, over the last year, while we hope to see him growing and getting stronger, he's actually deteriorated quite a bit. And this is, like I said, from a few months ago, and that's the last time that I can remember that we could really get him to smile. You can kind of see like his face is a little swollen up as his heart function deteriorates. He gets like fluid buildup in his face and his hands. And he's still waiting for the 3rd surgery that he needs, but it's looking increasingly unlikely that he'll get stable enough even to go in for that surgery. And there's just a lot of uncertainty, and his family is no stranger to big challenges. His parents lost 1, maybe 2 babies a few years back, and his older brother is blind. It's been a really just like very, very challenging few years for his family. But a couple months ago, during one of his frequent stays with us, a group of us volunteers were sitting on the floor playing with a bunch of the kids, and Fayez, as his condition has kind of deteriorated, he doesn't walk anymore really. He doesn't respond very much because he just gets so tired so easily. So he was just kind of sitting back and watching all the other kids play. And his mom picked him up and brought him over to me and set him on the floor next to me and just asked really sweetly and really shyly, like, Bria, will you play with Fayez too? And I think that really stuck with me because it wasn't really, I think, for her about me entertaining her kid for 10 minutes. Really what she was asking us and what she's been asking us for 2 years now is, will you look after my child too? And will you give him the same chance as these other kids? And, we really don't know what's going to happen with Fayez. We know with absolute confidence that the one who spoke him into existence 2 years ago absolutely has the power to heal his heart in a moment. And we also know that might not happen. But, that's all ultimately out of our control. And our job is actually a lot simpler than that. Our job is for right now, between now and whatever happens in the future, to make sure that he's got the best chance that he can have, and to make sure that no matter what happens, whether, in a year or 2, whether his mom is taking him home healthy or taking him home to bury him, that she knows that she and her child were so, so loved and so cared for. And I think that's, at the end of it, that's kind of the point, right? We know in eternity, not one of these kids is going to be forgotten. Not one of them is going to be abandoned or left to die. And so for right now on earth, in whatever finite, limited ways we can, we want to show that little bit of God's eternal love for these kids to them and to their families here on earth. And so if I can ask you, especially for Fayez, if you think of it, to just join us in prayer for him. And the last thing here, for any of you who are wondering how you can be involved, sorry, I'm over my 10 minutes. The first thing is to just join us in prayer for these kids and these families. If you go to our website, you can see all the kids' pictures who are staying with us and who have come for follow-ups. And if you click on their pictures, it'll take you to their blog, which is like personal updates for that child, everything that's going on with them. If you want more updates, also on our website, you can subscribe to our weekly updates. We've got 2 of them. There's one late in the week, usually on Thursdays. It's usually written by me, not always, but that's going to be updates on what's going on with all of the kids. And then there's one on Sundays from Jonathan that's what's going on with our kids and the community and kind of what else is happening in the region. If you are praying, especially for a particular child or a particular mom, let me know, actually, if you don't mind me passing that along to the parents. That really means a lot to them, and it's really special for them when we can tell them, like, hey, my friend from back home is specifically praying for you and for your child and your family, and it's really encouraging. Like I said, we very, very, very much appreciate the financial support from the church as a whole. And if any of you want to donate personally, we always have big year-end commitments to our partner hospitals in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And the last I looked, the number was 600 some thousand. So if you go to our website, to the donations page, and click on year-end commitments, it'll tell you where that number is right now, if you would like to contribute toward that. And the last thing is that there is a way that you can actually sign up to support a child as a local leader to lead prayer and fundraising for a particular child. If you're interested in doing that, you can find me after church today or contact me. I put my contact information up there. I'm flying back on Tuesday, so this is kind of your last chance for the next year to talk to me in person. But my email and my phone number are up there. My phone number is Israeli, so you actually can't call or text me, but you can contact me on Signal. Any numbers that you have from me from like a year or two ago are not good anymore. This is the only one. I'm not in the most recent directory that was sent out, so this is your shot for contact information or ask my mom. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to come find me after church or to send me a message, and we can talk about it. So thank you so much.